Hi, and welcome to Four Questions with Jeff. I'm going to wait a few minutes and let a few people join. This is our every Tuesday we do Four Questions with Jeff. This is your opportunity to join us and have some dialogue and questions. It looks good. So this is Four Questions with Jeff. There's a lot going on in the last few weeks or so with the pandemic. The stay-at-home order is about to expire in Harris County. The mask order has expired as well. There's a lot of other things that's going on. Yesterday was the beginning of hurricane season. We'll talk a little bit about that and the fact that we already have our third named storm, and we're only in the second day of hurricane season. They're expecting it to be a very busy hurricane season. And we'll touch a little bit on the incident that happened in Minnesota as well. So this is Four Questions with Jeff. We do this every Tuesday at 7:30. If you have questions, if you remember that you can ask those questions now. You don't have to wait, and we'll get those questions answered just as soon as we can. But the main thing is that we have a dialogue. Today is also Blackout Tuesday, so you notice that I don't have anything on the screen. It's already blacked out. I want to commend the city of Houston and everything that went on today as far as the march is concerned, and how well the city of Houston handled themselves. I'm real proud of the city and how we acted, and we were very civilized. And even though we disagree and things like that, we were able to come together as a group. Once again, I have my boys that are here with me that are actually helping with the Facebook Live, and also my wife as well. I would tell you that something phenomenal is happening around the country as a result of the event that happened with Mr. Florrick, and that is that my phone has been ringing off the hook here recently, checking on me to making sure that I was okay, that my family was okay during this tough time. And it's a tough time for everybody, not just law enforcement, but for everyone and as a whole. This is a tough time for everyone. But it's a time for us to do some soul searching and to really have a conversation. So we're going to wait a few more minutes, see how many more people we can get to join. We have 6 or 7 right now, and we'll get started here shortly. And remember, if you have two things. One, if you have anyone that you know that is interested in politics and things of that nature, please let them know that Jeff is on. Also, share this event with your friends, and also let them know as well. So let's just get into it. So the first thing we talked about is it's hurricane season. Hurricane season is upon us. Second day of hurricane season. We're gonna run straight through October, and then the hurricane season will be over. They're expecting a very busy hurricane season. A very busy 6 to 7 named storms. Don't know how many tropical depressions and things like that are going to go on, but they're expecting a very busy hurricane season. So what I want you to do is make sure that you're prepared. Make sure that you have a kit together. You have a plan. And in the Gulf of Mexico right now today, and they're saying that the storm may go to Louisiana. But it's a chance that it could come to us depending on what the high that's going to be sitting on top of us do. So we need to be ready, be prepared for the hurricane season, and have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you can go to readyharris.org and pick up a plan there. But you need your medication. You need to know where you're going to go in case you are evacuated. If you need to check on your loved ones, the older people and those people that may have some type of disability. You need to check on those people and make sure that they have a plan. Make sure you have enough food and water to sustain you. Make sure your gas tank is full. Those are the things that when we're in hurricane season, we don't want to wait until we're 24 hours out or a few hours out to try to get those things, because everyone's going to rush to the store. So keep a supply of water, keep a supply of perishable items during these months from June to October, end of October, to make sure that you are ready for hurricane season. So that's as much as I'm going to talk about that. But Cristobal is the name of the storm that's in the Gulf, and I don't want it to hit anybody. My prayer is that it dissipates prior to hitting. Also, I don't know if y'all seen the news or not, but the pandemic is still here. We're not talking about it much these days, but it's not going anywhere. It's still here. There's still, over 100,000 people that have passed away. There's still hundreds of people here in the Houston area that's been infected. There's several people that have passed away. Some people that are near and dear to my heart, friends of mine that have passed away as a result of the pandemic. So I want y'all to still take this serious. If you're not social distancing, you still should be doing that, making sure that you're following the CDC guidelines. One of the things that the Surgeon General said today is all of these social gatherings and things like that we're doing in memory of Mr. Floyd, we should expect that the numbers of COVID-19 cases to rise. So we're seeing some minor rising and things like that in the Houston area as well. So I just want y'all to make sure that you know that this is going on and that the pandemic can hit. And I'm not doing 4 questions with Jeff tonight because there's a lot going on in the media. So what I want to do is basically touch base on the events that happened in Minneapolis. Just briefly to talk about it, as a police officer for 28 years and a father of 3 African American young men that are 16 years old, and myself being an African American. I make no excuses for what happened in Minneapolis. I make no excuses. I don't accept any excuses or reason for doing what that young man did in taking the life of Mr. Floyd. I've been a police officer 28 years, and that is not a tactic that I was ever taught in the 28 years in use of force or anything that I've ever done. And most law enforcement officers would tell you that. And I'll tell you, I'm 50 years old. I'm 50 years old, and I'm a son. I'm a brother. I'm a cousin, a nephew. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a friend of a lot of people. And I don't know any criminals that are African American. I don't know any lazy African Americans. I don't know any African Americans that don't work. There's a lot of stereotypes about African Americans, and I believe that those stereotypes keep a lot of African Americans down, and it gives a false sense of who we are. I have always said, and I am totally amazed at how now, after 20 years in community engagement and crime prevention, now I'm hearing police chiefs all across the nation say we need to get back to community-oriented policing. That's my platform. That's what I've been running on. And if you would have elected me in 2016, you would have seen what that looks like. Because Just to say you have a community-oriented policing law enforcement agency does not mean that there is actually a community-oriented policing agency. So my question to the leaders, the activists and things like that is, will you call me so that we can sit down and talk, so that we can come up with a plan after the march is over, after the rioting is over, after the anger is over? Can we sit down and have a conversation? Can we have dialogue so that we can figure out a way that this does not happen again? You see, I tell folks all the time, leadership will reflect how an agency is run. Leadership. So if you have someone that believes simply in arrest, and they're not engaged with the community, on days like a week ago, 7, 8 days ago, there is no trust with that law enforcement agency in the community. So we have to get to that. Police officers, law enforcement, we have work to do. I have always said that perception is reality. And when I mean perception is reality, I mean exactly what I'm saying. If the African American community perceives that law enforcement is out to get them and to kill them, arrest them, then that is the African American community's reality. There is nothing that I can say or you can say that's going to change their mind other than getting in the weeds with them, letting them know that you're there for them. I've been preaching this for 20 years. Sir Robert Peel has been saying it since the beginning of law enforcement, that the people are the police and the police are the people. I was shocked to hear police chief say the other day, if there's no trust in the community, then the community is not going to allow you to police them. Well, that's part of crime prevention. That's part of law enforcement 101. You have to have the trust of the community. So having the trust of one individual or a few individuals in a community is not enough. We need to make sure that we have the trust of all of the community, that the community knows who we are, that I will say it again, that we need to roll our windows down. We need to engage the community. We need to be there for our community. If you're not doing that, then you're not doing the policing that we need right now. I've always heard that, oh, you don't want to go to that neighborhood. That neighborhood is a bad neighborhood. What does that mean? What does that mean? Everybody wants the same thing, you know. How they get it is they by working hard and getting what they need. So if you think that you have a bad neighborhood or a neighborhood that you don't want to go into, that's the neighborhood that you need to be in. That's the neighborhood that you need to start engaging in so that we can find out what those problems are. And it is simple. The process is simple. You meet the leaders in that community, whether it be the church pastors, whether it be activists in that community, and you give them a seat at the table. It may be the president of the homeowners association. Whoever the leaders are in that community, you need to go and meet those people and find out what their needs are. People are not trusting law enforcement right now, and we need to change that. And I'm willing to talk. I'm willing to sit down and have conversations with community leaders, with the activists, and come up with a plan to make sure law enforcement is not overstepping their bounds. That's what I'm willing to do. So if you are an activist, if you are a community leader, if you're someone that is looking for answers in law enforcement, and I make no excuses, I call balls and strikes the way they are. In my 28 years of experience, I've had to pull back an officer or two that I could see was getting ready to do something that was wrong. And I have no issue with that. Almost 5 years that I worked in community service, the crime prevention unit, I wanted to work with the community. The almost 5 years that I worked in internal affairs. When I worked in internal affairs, my job was to get bad officers off the street. And I worked tirelessly every day to make sure that I did that. And that's what we need to do. We need to hold ourselves accountable. And I'm not going to say that all cops are good. I'm not going to say that the majority of police officers are good. What I'm going to say is we have work to do as law enforcement. And I'm willing to do that work. I'm willing to sit here and have a dialogue with whomever. If you disagree with me, I am ready to talk to you. So this is 4 questions with Jeff. Do we have any questions? With whomever. If you disagree with me, Anthony, that's a good question as far as the president calling questions about the active military. I don't believe that is a good idea. I'm just against, militarizing cities and things like that. The National Guard is a state-run military service. I was a reservist. I worked for the federal government. So we're here as a veteran. I believe that we should enforce or keep the country itself safe from foreign and domestic issues. So no, I don't believe that we need tanks rolling down the streets or anything like that. We're trying to meet force with force, and sometimes you just need dialogue. So it's time for us to start listening. Hey, Ron, thank you so much for letting people know that I'm on. I will talk about the hurricane season, how the department itself prepares. Working at Houston TranStar for a number of years, one of the things that we do during hurricane season is that we actually meet with all the local law enforcement agencies, fire departments, and things like that to make sure that we have all of the equipment that we need, and basically checking our equipment, making sure that we have all of the equipment and it's ready to go, whether it be boats or our 5-ton trucks, our Humvees, and those type of equipment, so that we are ready to rescue people. But what's most important, those ladies over there at Houston TranStar, and what they do is that they make sure that the vehicles are ready to go, and that there's communication between law enforcement agencies. So I think that that's a great question, and we do wonders around there. Andrew, how you doing? What would a community roundtable look like? It would look like me, my command staff, and whoever wants a seat at the table, and I would allow them to vent. Now, I will tell you this. One of the things that I've learned in all of the years of me being working with the community, doing town halls and things like that on behalf of the sheriff's office, showing up to those meetings, that I've learned that a lot of people, if you do these things too often, and that it becomes stale. So I would also make sure that the line officers and everyone of every persuasion has a seat at the table, because one of the things that I've always said is that it's just not a good idea for me to go into your community and try to tell you how your community needs to be policed. I think that you should have a voice in that. So that's how that roundtable would look. Thanks for the question, Andrew. Hey, Jessica, how you doing? Thank you so much for joining me on Facebook Live. And I have more to say. It's just that this is 4 questions with Jeff, and we only have a short amount of time to talk today. But remember, you can donate to my campaign. Go to my website at www.voteforjeff.com. This is my last thing that I'm going to say, is that after the marching is over, after the anger has subsided, after the mistrust of law enforcement dies down a little bit, the only way that you're going to make a difference is if you vote. You have to vote. If you want change, if you want somebody in office that's going to make a difference, you have to vote. I am so glad that you are out there and that you are protesting. But it's time out for saying that your vote don't count. It's time out for saying, I'm not going to vote. It's time out for that. You see what happens when you don't vote. Okay? You have got to vote. And you can go to texasvote.org and you can sign up to register, you can register to vote there. They'll send you a voter registration card already filled out. All you have to do is sign it. And I'll put that information up later on. All you have to do is sign it and send it in. If you're not registered to vote after all of the marching, after all of the uprising, after all of the destruction, what is it for? What are we doing this for? If we're not registering people to vote so that we can make a difference in our community. The president doesn't make any laws. That's the Congress and the Senate. The mayor doesn't make any laws. That's city council make the laws, and he rubber stamps it. Okay? The county judge is a tiebreaker. So your commissioners make a difference. You want laws changed, you need to vote. Local elections matter. If you want a change in the law enforcement agency that represents you, if you want someone that's going to be community minded, you need to go to voteforjeff.com, the number 4. Voteforjeff.com, sign up to volunteer. Sign up and make a donation. Sign up to make a difference in your community. That's what we have to do. That's what we have to do. Any more questions? All right, this has been 4 Questions with Jeff. I hope to see you again on next Tuesday at 7:30. Tell a friend, tell somebody that we're doing 4 Questions with Jeff every Tuesday at 7:30. Remember, it's hurricane season. Make sure that you have a plan for hurricane season. Okay. Oh, Jessica, what did you say? What is the best place to get information about local candidates? The League of Women Voters will always put out a guide on candidates. Your local community impact, the leader, and those type of papers will put information out. There's all kind of areas where you can get information on your on the candidates. You can go to whichever you can go to the Democrat, Republican side. You can get information about the candidates there, and we have websites. So whatever race you're interested in, pull out your voter registration card and Google that office. Find out what that person is, who that person is, and then find out if they are they have your best interest at heart, and then go vote. Go vote. Go vote. This is not the election to sit out. So this has been 4 Questions with Jeff. We will see y'all again next Tuesday. Tell a friend that 4 Questions with Jeff comes on every Tuesday between 7:30 and 8 o'clock. Thank you.